Hello, welcome to the back to school video for 2020 and 21 for my class, Mr. Currie's class. So here we go. I sent a video at the beginning of the year. I hope you got a chance to see that. Kind of the logistics of how the class website and so on works. I'm going to put a link to that video in the down below section of this video so you can check that out too. But this is just going to be more about the curriculum and what we're going to cover this year, not necessarily the nuts and bolts of how things are going to work. So I'm going to shrink myself down and get started here. So welcome back to middle school in 2020. We've got the distance learning. It's something new. I think the first couple weeks have been pretty successful. People getting to know how things work, getting in and out of the Zoom classes. Attendance has been tremendous. Kids have been doing an awesome job of getting to class on time, following directions with the Zoom, and really working hard. That's been really impressive. So let's take a look at how things are going to work here. First off, communicating and getting in touch with me. The school email works for parents. That's great. I can get back to you. As I said in that other video, kids cannot email me and have me get back to them. So using the Canvas Messenger is going to be great. This is the link to getting over to Canvas in case the kids need to check that out or you need to check that out. You can create a parent account through Canvas, which allows you to audit the class. You can get in and see everything in there just like your kids can and see the due dates and assignments and so on. So taking a look at I'm going to jump over here to the Canvas site real quickly. So in case you didn't see that other video, our assignments are all going to be on Canvas. There's a language arts page and a social studies page. Our links on Zoom, as far as I can tell, are good for 6 weeks, and then I have to make a new one. So I've got the links for periods 2, 4, and 6. Kids in classes 2, 3 is the social studies. They have the same link. Kids in 4, 5 have the same link, and 6, 7 have the same link. And then on the home page, I've got things like the schedule. Down here to the bottom, the Parent Connect. You can check your kids' grades at any time. Currently, we haven't collected any grades yet, but we will this end of this week. So just like a normal quarter, you can check in on your kids' grades. They will be receiving grades. It will not be pass-fail like the fourth quarter. This will be more like a traditional grading period. Although this quarter, the district has changed. Instead of being 80% assessment, 20% homework, classwork, it's now 50-50. 50% of their grade will be homework, 50% will be classwork. Okay, so, and then social studies looks the same way. They go in each day, they log on into the Zoom meeting, and then we come over and click on modules, and then it shows like we're in week 2. These are the assignments for each day. If they were to click on, say today was Tuesday, it would have a description of what we're doing. At least when I made this video, it's Tuesday. It's probably Thursday for you. And they click on the link for the assignment. They'll make their own copy of that assignment. And then they work through that, and they will be submitting these to Canvas. And this week we're working on how to turn in assignments on Canvas. Okay, so back to the slideshow there. The symbol in ClassLink for Canvas is this red circle right there. Okay. Kind of went over those. So this is your language arts. We're going to be using the Springboard program. That's the adopted program for the school district for middle school. Springboard's got a lot of great things in it, and I also found that it's a lot better if I add in my own touches to it. So we'll be mixing in the assessments, the assignments from Springboard with some just personalization on my part. There's a lot of benefits to the Springboard program. A couple of them include an emphasis on embedded assessments. So what that means with language arts, there's always one assessment that's going to be at the end of the quarter or unit. And the assignments in the Springboard program lead up to that assessment. So it's not like they're just reading random stories and then there's a test on something else. They're learning the specific skills that are going to be involved in this assessment. First quarter, they're going to write a personal narrative. So as we read the stories and practice the writing process, all of the skills that they need there are going to be building towards this final assessment. And it's the same way throughout the other units in the year. There's also spiraling, so it's not like they hit one skill and then they don't see it again. Things come back throughout the year. And then the program is also used 6 through 8 here, and Springboard is also used at the high school. So this spiraling concept, they see the same skills progress through middle school, and then when they go to the high school, they'll continue to see some of the same acronyms for the skill sets and kind of build on what they learn at this stage without having to learn a new academic vocabulary for the different terms and so on. So that's a good bonus. When we moved to Common Core a couple of years ago, there were 3 main shifts in language arts, and I think it is still good to bring them up. So building knowledge through content-rich nonfiction. So literature is still important. We still read a lot of literature, but there's a new emphasis on nonfiction, and that nonfiction is shared by the different subjects. So we're reading in history, science, and math. They should also have some literacy component in them. Also, reading, writing, and speaking are grounded in evidence from the text. So it's not so much reading something and what do you think about this? More like pulling out, can you find evidence to support what you think about it? And then in 7th grade, what we're adding in is the idea of commentary, or adding in their own thought process at the end of when they supply the evidence. They have some commentary or their own critical thinking about how this proves their claim or their thesis. Okay, lastly, regular practice with complex text. So the goal of a lot of the readings is to be challenging. It takes more than one reading to really fully form an understanding. And that's a good thing, because a lot of the activities involve spending time with text. And if the text is so simple, one quick read through is all they need, that would be tedious to spend a lot of time on it. So they've got complex text to read through and really gain some meaning from it. Okay, so that is Springboard. In addition to Springboard, we're going to use a program called Quill. Quill is a grammar program, and I think it's pretty tremendous. In the past, you might do grammar through worksheets, and if you hand out the class a set of worksheets, some kids understand this skill before they ever get the worksheet. Other kids maybe struggle, and it takes a while to get it back, give them the feedback they need, and respond to them. With this Quill program, they take a diagnostic. It's all online. They take a diagnostic test, and it can tell what do they know and what do they need work on. And then it lets me know, and I can assign them skills that it shows that they've struggled with, and they work through on their own assignments, and I can see their progress. And we have some lessons that are all like whole class lessons, but a lot of the things you're working on are tailored to what they have demonstrated that they still need work on, which is very meaningful. And it's also gives them instantaneous feedback. When they type in a question, the answer to a question, it will say, no, you didn't do this right. Go back and check for whatever the skill is that they're working on. So it's instantaneous, and they can kind of review the skill and see how they're doing, instead of turning in a worksheet and then the next week get it back, or already know it before you get it. So we'll be working on that on a lot of the Wednesdays. Skipped one too far. So school-wide areas of focus, we're working on collaborative conversations. So I've been trying to use in the Zoom sessions, the breakout rooms, so I can kick kids all out into their own rooms of 3 to 4, where they work on a topic in sort of a group work type activity, maybe 5-10 minutes, and then I jump into the meetings and check in on the conversations. And I think that's one of the most powerful things that we can do here as we're in distance learning, give kids a chance to actually express themselves and talk through their ideas. So collaborative conversations are still with us. Technology, That was going to be an area of focus before this whole COVID thing, and who knew we were going to learn so much about technology. But Canvas has been great. Zoom, using Nearpod, which is sort of like an interactive Google presentation. It's really great. Quill, Zinc is something with the Springboard application where they can look at academic vocabulary and so on. And then the other area of focus is daily learning targets. Kids should be able to articulate, today in class, I was supposed to learn X objective, and did we or didn't we? So at the beginning of every day, it should say this on the Canvas lesson. I'll be trying to put those at the top and express that to the kids before we start the lesson so we can focus in on those skills. Those are school-wide, folks. Everybody should be doing those. All right, so curriculum focus. What are we learning in 7th grade language arts? Some of this is the same thing that I use each year. Some of these things will be truncated. We're meeting fewer times. I think half the groups meet 22 periods this quarter. The other half meet 20 periods this quarter. So a few things we're chopping out. But reading, we've got fiction and nonfiction in the Springboard book. We read the novel Tangerine and Beowulf in the 7th grade. Social studies primary text, poetry. There's a unit on advertising and how that affects teens, which is great in the 2nd unit. Informational texts, brochures, articles, journals, a wide variety. Then writing, there's a focus on the process, not seeing writing as something that's done right away, but we've got editing and revising and all the different steps. We'll be working through that. First quarter, their topic to write about is an autobiographical narrative. Traditionally, we've done a myth in the first quarter too, but I don't think we're going to have time for that. Second quarter, they write an expository essay and a argumentative essay. And then third quarter, response to literature. And fourth quarter, they work on public speaking, which comes in the fourth quarter, usually right there. So social studies. Let's talk about social studies. The focus now is on critical thinking in history, which is a new direction for the district over the last 4 or 5 years. And I should say, I've been teaching for 25 years, 19 at Edna Hill here, 6 years before that at Excelsior, back before it was called Excelsior, Byron Middle School. And things have changed quite a bit. While I'm teaching the same grade level, it seems like a whole new job. I usually say that each year because it does change, but I'll tell you what, this year it really feels like I'm doing something different. But the history has evolved and it's much more interesting. So we are working on something that's been described as an apprenticeship in the subject. It's a focus on historical significance, which is kind of answering the question, why is this important? Why is what we're studying important? Not a collection of names and dates, but understanding cause and effect or consequences, sourcing. The assignment that they're doing this first week here comes from the Stanford How to Read Like a Historian project. And it involves these same historical thinking skills. They pretend that they're a principal. There's been a fight in the lunchroom, and they receive witness statements from 8 people, from like cafeteria workers, the kids that were in the fight, bystanders, the kids' friends, kids that were in their English class. And then they evaluate the sources based on the bias they may have, the proximity to the fight, if their stories corroborate one another, and working on these key terms, kind of understanding what do historians look at when they try to understand what happened in a historical event. So then they have to write a suspension report for one of these 2 kids and justify it based on the evidence. Later on in the year, we use the same exact skills when we look at something like, say, the First Crusades. The Crusaders come in to Jerusalem, and they sack the city, and there's a lot of bad things that happen. And we try to figure out, how do they know what happens? Well, if they read an account by one of the Crusaders versus an account by someone who was there, like a Muslim historian, 100 years after the event happened, if there are certain parts of their stories that line up, we can probably say that that happened. So we use the same skills in a historical context later on. So I think that makes the history more meaningful and real, understanding it didn't just happen one single way, right? Different people have perspectives on what happened. All right. So later in the year, we look at current events, some lessons about democracy out of a program called The American Promise, and continuing that focus on the collaborative conversations. Our lessons come from the Stanford's Read Like a Historian project and the UC Berkeley Social Studies project. Lots of different ways to assess, not just multiple choice tests, that kind of thing. A lot more writing, making a thesis, backing it up with evidence and commentary analysis. What do we learn? First quarter, we've got the rise of Islam. It's going to start next week. And then Sub-Saharan Africa. Second quarter, China, Japan, the Middle Ages. Third quarter, we've got the Renaissance, Reformation, and Scientific Revolution. And fourth quarter, early Americas like the Aztecs and the Incas and the Maya, Age of Exploration, and getting them ready for 8th grade with the Enlightenment. Now, some of these things are going to have to be dropped if we're in distance learning and only going every other day. First quarter, we usually start with the fall of Rome, but there's just not time to cover everything. So we had to make some choices, and we'll see second quarter who is still around here if we're still in distance learning. Okay. But we are going to be using those historical thinking skills. So we'll be getting across that element of it. The curriculum of the history might have to get shortened up. We'll still get the skills in. All right. So parent-teacher communication, more than ever, it's going to be important this quarter. If you want to contact me, you can get me on the email or the Canvas Messenger, and I will try to get right back to you. I set up those optional conferences the first 2 weeks after school with the Sign Up Genius. If you want to Zoom to meet sometime, if you have questions, I'm definitely available for that. And I just want to make sure that you are in the loop and feeling like there's good communication going on with the school and you. So make sure to reach out to me if you have any questions, and we'll get that. Remember, you can check your kids' grades using the Q program there right on the website of mine and on the school website. That's updated all the time. In their advisory class, they should be checking that every week and getting you to sign off on it. So better to check not like sooner than later on the grades. Let's see. So Canvas, they'll be having progress reports and grades like we said. You can email me here. I'll put the information to contact down at the bottom of the video. And I think that should do it. If you do have any kind of questions, let me know so I can get back to you. This is, usually open house. There are some questions people want to ask while we're doing it. I'm sorry I can't get back to you right away, but if you email, I promise I will answer any questions you might have. So I hope you thought this got off to a good start this year with the distance learning. I think it's been great. The synchronous nature of it, us having actual classes meeting, I feel like the kids are more engaged than they were in the fourth quarter. And I think they've been really doing a great job. You should be really proud of them. Okay, so I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope we all have a great year. Talk to you later. Bye.